The beginning. The night was silent, but the soldier's heart was louder than the ticking of a clock. He had been chosen for a mission so dangerous that even saying yes was equal to signing his own death warrant. His task, to destroy the nuclear power of the enemy country before it could be used against his homeland. He stood in front of his commanding officer, eyes steady but soul trembling. The briefing was short and sharp. Satellite images showed the enemy's nuclear facility buried deep in the mountains. Guards patrolled every corner. Security cameras blinked like cold eyes, and advanced alarms could trigger within seconds. Entering that place alive seemed almost impossible. Coming out alive was not even a question. But the soldier didn't hesitate. "I'll do it," he said in a firm voice, even though inside he could already taste fear. His country had given him everything: his childhood, his dreams, his uniform. Now, it was his turn to give everything back, even his life. The days before the mission were filled with preparation. He trained harder than ever, studying maps, memorizing guard shifts, learning the codes and locks. His body grew tired, but his will only grew stronger. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, he would sit alone and wonder, will I ever return? Will anyone remember my name if I don't? The thought of his family crossed his mind often. His mother's wrinkled smile, his father's proud silence, his younger sister's laughter. These faces became his fuel. He whispered to himself, "I'm not just one man. I'm carrying a whole nation inside me." And then the day came. Dressed in black combat gear, armed with silence and courage, he stepped into the shadows. The mission had begun, and with it, the most dangerous chapter of his life. This was not just a mission. It was a journey into death or glory, entering enemy territory. The night was a shield. The soldier crossed the border like a ghost, every step sinking into silence. His boots pressed softly against the dry earth, leaving no trace. Ahead, miles of hostile land waited to swallow him whole. He knew one mistake could end it all. A single noise, a broken twig, or a shadow in the wrong place, and the enemy's eyes would catch him. His heart beat faster, but his face stayed calm. He had been trained for this moment, and now the training was his only weapon. From a distance, he saw the glow of searchlights scanning the dark fields. Tall fences wrapped the enemy facility like a steel monster, and soldiers with rifles marched in patterns. Motion sensors blinked red, ready to scream danger. He crawled through mud, dragging himself like a snake. Every stone cut into his skin, every breath tasted like fear. Suddenly, a patrol passed dangerously close. The soldier pressed his body flat against the ground, heartbeat hammering in his ears. The boots of the guards came within inches of his face. For a moment, it felt like time had stopped. Then, silence again. The patrol moved on. He exhaled slowly, his lips trembling, but his eyes burning with determination. At the edge of the fence, he pulled out his special kit. With steady hands, he clipped the wires and slid through the gap. Every move rehearsed in his mind 1,000 times. Beyond the fence, the real danger began. Cameras rotated like predators searching for prey, and guard dogs barked in the distance. Inside, the world was a maze of shadows and lights. He moved from wall to wall, timing his steps with the rhythm of the enemy's routine. His body was tired, but his spirit whispered, "Not yet. Keep moving. The nation depends on you." This was no longer a simple mission. It was survival against a whole army, and he was just one man against the impossible. Struggle and close calls. The soldier paused in a narrow corridor. Ahead was a heavy metal door, behind him only darkness. His breath came in shallow bursts. He glanced at his map under dim red light, checking guard patterns. One wrong move, one wrong sound could betray him. He inched forward. Every wall was cold, damp. Pipes overhead dripped. The soft hum of machines seeped through the walls, as if the enemy base itself was alive, watching. A guard's footstep echoed somewhere far, then closer. The soldier froze, every sense alert. Through a small window in the door, he saw two guards talking. One laughed quietly, the other checked their radio. The soldier pressed himself flat against the wall, barely breathing. His hands shook, but he steadied them. He waited. Seconds felt like minutes. As the guards moved away, the soldier slipped from the wall and crept toward a side vent. He lifted the grill, paused to listen. No sound of dogs, no alarms. He squeezed inside. The metal bars cut into his palms. Crawling through that vent, he spat out sweat and grit. Darkness cramped him. He dusted out tin, choking the path. Suddenly, a sharp light flashed underneath. A guard with a flashlight was below the vent. The soldier froze, heart pounding. Footsteps. The guard bent down, head turning. The soldier thought, "This is it." He sucked in a breath, mustered all courage, held tight. The light passed by. The guard stood, turned away. A moment later, silence. Emerging from the vent, he pulled his face out of the shadows. He whispered a prayer. He dusted himself off, blood from minor cuts, clothes torn. But he advanced forward toward the control room door. He knew that 2 alarms away lay discovery, mission failure, or worse. He halted at the threshold. Through the door's small transparent panel, he saw inside. The core control room, blinking lights, scientists at work, armed guards. He steadied his weapon, heart hammering, mind razor sharp. He pressed his hand on the handle. This way, reaching the target. The soldier's gloved hand tightened on the handle of the control room door. His heartbeat echoed like drums in his ears. On the other side, men in uniforms laughed, monitored screens, and loaded weapons. He inhaled slowly, reminding himself, "You are here for one reason: destroy the nuclear threat." He slipped inside like a shadow. His steps were silent, but his eyes scanned everything. Bright screens glowed with data. Red warning lights blinked steadily. Scientists tapped keyboards while guards leaned against walls, rifles slung casually. No one noticed him. Not yet. He ducked behind a pillar, calculating. There were too many guards to fight openly. One wrong bullet would trigger alarms, and then an army would descend on him. He reached into his pack and pulled out a small device, an electronic jammer. With careful hands, he activated it. Instantly, the nearest cameras blinked and went dark. But fate wasn't on his side. A guard turned, eyes narrowing at the darkened screen. "What happened to this camera?" the guard muttered. He began walking toward the pillar. The soldier clenched his jaw, steadying his pistol. As the guard came closer, the soldier struck. A quick, silent takedown. The body dropped softly to the floor, hidden in shadows. His breath trembled, but his focus sharpened. He had to keep moving. At the far end of the room, beyond the glowing consoles, was the access to the underground vault, the place where the nuclear core was stored. That was his target. Every nerve in his body screamed danger, but his will pushed him forward. Suddenly, the loud crackle of a radio filled the room. "Unit 4, report your status," a voice demanded. Silence. The missing guard's radio buzzed again. The others turned suspicious. Hand went to rifles. Eyes scanned the room. The soldier crouched lower, sweat dripping. Discovery was seconds away. But deep inside, he whispered to himself, "I didn't come this far to fail." The mission had now reached the res, the decisive moment. The soldier's pulse raced as the guards grew suspicious. Radios crackled again, voices sharp with tension. He knew he had seconds before the room erupted in chaos. His target, the vault leading to the nuclear core, was still ahead, protected by biometric locks and steel thicker than tank armor. He pressed himself against the wall, mind working fast. From his pouch, he pulled out a hacking tool, small, silent, deadly efficient. Slipping to the access panel, he attached the device. Numbers flickered on the screen as the lock began to override. Every beep was a thunderclap in his ears. Behind him, one guard moved closer. "Check the shadows," the man ordered. Boots pounded the floor. The soldier gritted his teeth. He clenched his knife, ready for close combat. The vault lock blinked access granted at the very last second. Without hesitation, he shoved the heavy door open and slipped inside, vanishing just as the guards reached the corner. Shouts filled the room. "Intruder! Lock down the base!" Alarms wailed, red lights flashing violently. Inside the vault, the soldier found himself face to face with the enemy's true power. Rows of glowing cylinders, warheads stacked like sleeping monsters. The air smelled of metal and chemicals. This was the heart of destruction, the very thing that could wipe out his homeland. He set down his explosives, hands trembling but steady. Each device clicked into place. He adjusted the timer, whispering, "For my country." Suddenly, heavy boots thundered behind him. Guards stormed the vault with rifles raised. Bullets shattered the walls around him. He dove behind a pillar, returning fire. Sparks flew, smoke filled the air. One bullet grazed his arm, pain shooting through his body. Still, he pressed the final button on the detonator. A red light blinked alive. The countdown had begun. Now there was no turning back. Victory, or death, was only minutes away. The final battle. The timer blinked, 5 minutes until detonation. The soldier's chest heaved, blood dripping from his arm. Smoke clouded the vault as bullets cracked past him, sparks lighting the air. Enemy soldiers poured in like a flood, rifles spitting fire. He rolled behind a steel container, reloading with shaking hands. His heart roared in his ears, but his mind was ice cold. Hold the line. Just 5 minutes. He leaned out, fired 3 shots. 2 enemies fell, but more kept coming. Grenades clattered across the floor. He dove forward as explosions ripped the walls, shrapnel slicing his back. Pain burned hot, but he forced himself up. "Kill him before he escapes," a commander shouted. Boots pounded closer. The soldier grabbed a smoke grenade and yanked the pin. A thick cloud swallowed the room, turning chaos into blindness. Through the haze, he slipped to higher ground, climbing a narrow steel ladder. From above, he rained fire down, taking out enemies one by one. But the enemy wasn't slowing. A bullet tore into his leg. He collapsed, gritting his teeth, forcing himself not to scream. The timer blinked, 2 minutes. Crawling across the catwalk, he clutched his rifle, firing bursts to keep the enemy pinned. His vision blurred, but his resolve burned brighter. "This is bigger than me. I must finish it." Suddenly, the enemy commander spotted him. With a roar, the man charged, blade in hand. The soldier, weakened and bleeding, met him in brutal hand-to-hand combat. Knives clashed, fists slammed, blood sprayed. The commander struck hard, but the soldier drove his blade into the man's chest, ending the fight. The timer blinked, 1 minute. Sirens screamed louder. The soldier, gasping, dragged himself toward the exit. Every step felt like walking through fire. He knew he wouldn't make it out alive, but he smiled through blood-stained lips. "At least my nation will live." The climax and sacrifice. The timer flashed, 30 seconds left. The vault shook with the pounding of boots and the thunder of alarms. The soldier dragged himself through smoke and fire, his uniform torn, blood soaking his body. Every breath was a knife in his chest, but he kept moving. The exit door was in sight, glowing faintly through the chaos. He pushed forward, one step, then another. But his legs gave way, collapsing beneath him. His body screamed to stop, but his heart whispered, "Keep going." 15 seconds. He looked back at the explosives. Red lights blinking, shadows of enemy soldiers scrambling desperately to disarm them. None would succeed in time. He had won. 10 seconds. He pulled a small photo from his pocket, his mother, father, and little sister smiling together. His hand shook as he pressed it against his chest. Tears burned his eyes, but a faint smile touched his lips. "This is who I'm fighting for." 5 seconds. The enemy commander, still alive but wounded, staggered into the vault, screaming orders. The soldier raised his pistol weakly and fired one last shot. The bullet struck true, silencing the commander forever. 3, 2, 1. A deafening roar shattered the world. Flames erupted, steel twisted, concrete exploded. The nuclear facility collapsed into a storm of fire, smoke, and destruction. The ground shook like an earthquake. In the middle of it all, the soldier closed his eyes. Pain faded. Noise turned distant. In his final moment, he felt only peace. His sacrifice had saved millions. Far away, his homeland slept safely, never knowing the price one man had paid. But in the hearts of those who would one day hear his story, he would live forever, as the soldier who gave his life to destroy the enemy's greatest weapon. The fire burned long after the explosion, but the mission was complete. The enemy's greatest weapon was gone, reduced to ashes and smoke. What remained was silence, a silence bought with the life of one man. The soldier never returned home. His body was lost beneath the ruins, but his spirit traveled far beyond the battlefield. His name might not be carved in history books, yet every heartbeat of his nation carried a piece of his sacrifice. Back home, the morning sun rose gently. Children walked to school, families shared meals, and life continued, peaceful, unaware of the shadow that had almost swallowed them. They did not hear the alarms, the bullets, the screams. They only lived in the safety his blood had purchased. In a quiet village, a mother looked at the sky, whispering prayers for a son who would never return. Somewhere else, a sister laughed without knowing the reason for her freedom. His family, his people, his entire homeland. They were the meaning behind his final smile. A soldier's duty is not just to fight, but to protect, even if it means walking into death with courage in his eyes. And he did just that. One man against an army, one life against destruction. Legends are not always written in gold or stone. Sometimes they are written in silence, in sacrifice, in the smoke of a battlefield where a hero falls. And so, his story ends not with defeat, but with victory, because true heroes never die. They live on in every life they saved.